Well, hello and a very warm welcome to day 2 of the Windsor stage of the 2014 FINA NVC Diving World Series. Well, what a fantastic day we had here yesterday. History being made in the pool with Chinese pair Cao Yuan and Lin Yu claiming back-to-back gold medals in the synchro contest. They started off with an impressive victory on the platform, claiming gold ahead of Germany and Great Britain before going on to claim victory in the springboard only a couple of hours later. Well, we have another big day of diving as we kick off the session with the men's 3-meter springboard final. It was business as usual in the qualifying sessions with He Chong taking out his semi-final ahead of Jack Law and Shu Sakai of Japan. Ilya Kvasha scored 481 points to take out his second semi with Troy DeMay and Patrick Houston also making the cut. Following the men, we have our women's 3-meter springboard final with 2 local divers competing. Jennifer Abel scraped through to the final after finishing 3rd in her semi behind Tanya Cagnoto and Shi Ting Mao. Pamela Ware had it a little easier in her semi, finishing 2nd behind Wang Han and Cheong Jung Hung of Malaysia, denying Australia's Annabelle Smith the chance to compete in the final. Well, we are underway here. Patrick Housing has picked up 2 silver medals already here in Windsor. Success on the platform yesterday with Sasha Klein going on to take another silver with Stefan Feck on the 3-meter springboard. Well, we've seen the start list there. Shu Sakai, followed by Patrick House and Troy DeMay, Jack Law, Ilya Kvasha and He Chong. He Chong, our overall leader, taking 3 straight golds from Beijing, Dubai and London. Missed out in Moscow. It was successful. The young Yevgeny Kuznetsov picking up gold in Moscow with Ilya Kvasha having to settle for silver. That was a wonderful contest. The Russians, they are missing in action here in Windsor, so it certainly opens up the field, but we'll see an impressive race, I'm sure, as the contest goes on. One such young diver that has certainly made an impact throughout this season, Jack Law of Great Britain, 19 years of age. We'll have a chat about him in just a moment's time. Here we have Troy DeMay of the USA, 4-time Olympian for the USA. He picked up a bronze medal back in London in the synchronized event of Christian Ibsen. Starting out very well, forward 3.5 somersault, nails the entry, gets a good amount of height from the takeoff. Beautifully piked position, nice and compact, legs glued together, no splits whatsoever. Well, yesterday in the women's 10-meter synchro final, local divers Megan Benfito and Rosalind Fillion also wrote history, claiming their first ever World Series gold to add to the 11 silver and 6 bronze from previous stages. Tonya Couch and Sarah Barrow won their 2nd silver of the series, and Australians Emily Boyd and Lara Tarvik impressed in what was only their 2nd World Series appearance. The pair picked up the bronze, improving on their 6th place finish in Edinburgh last year. Here's the young Jack Law, diving for the City of Leeds Diving Club. Represented England at the 2010 Commonwealth Games. Also became the junior world champion in both the 3-meter springboard and the synchro contest with Tom Daly, 2012 junior champion. And there were some very impressive words describing the talent of this young man in Moscow by both Yevgeny Kuznetsov and Ilya Kvasha. He is a very talented young diver, has such a clean technique. An 86.70. That's a good opening score for Jack Law. Ilya Kvasha inwards 3.5. Tuck position. bronze medalist at the Beijing Games in the 3-meter synchro with his former partner Alexei Prigorov. He's a multiple European champion in the 1-meter springboard event, European champion on the synchro contest again with Prigorov 2009, 2010. Coached by Tatiana Marianko, and we saw just moments ago there Ilya Kvasha from Nikolaev, the southern coastal city on the Black Sea bordering with Russia. We all understand the ongoing issues at the moment in Ukraine, so it's fantastic to see Kvasha attending this event here in Windsor. You say sport can break down many barriers. 81.60 for Ilya Kvasha. Took up diving at the age of 8 when a local swimming pool was built in Bordelais. It was a bit of a novelty in that small town. Well, this young man needs no introduction whatsoever. He Chong, current and 3-time world champion at this discipline. 2008 Olympic champion in Beijing. Picked up a bronze medal from London. The dive was incredibly clean. The entry, you can see the legs are slightly off axis, but fantastic starting position. Very powerful diver. Just trying to hold the legs nice and straight as they go under. He succeeds to save the entry. He scores high. We see 9s coming from the judges, and He Chong from this very early stage has raised the bar here. No splits at all from the legs. There we can see 9s across the board there. 90.10. It's just a little bit of a taste of what's to come here as we go to the overall total rankings at the end of our first round. It's He Chong leading the way, 90.10 ahead of Jack Law from Great Britain, 86.7. Further afield, Ilya Kvasha, followed by Troy Domey, Patrick Housding and Shu Sakai of Japan. He Chong, coached by Xiao Ji-hong, made his international debut back in 2005. At the time he looked up to Russian diver Dmitry Sortin. A number of these competitors here have idolized Dmitry over the years. He was actually inducted into the Russian Diving Hall of Fame earlier this month in Moscow. A special presentation as he officially retired from the sport. Shu Sakai, from a diving family in Japan. His father is his coach. He was in Sagamihara. Parents were both divers. 2012 Olympian. And he finished 8th in Barcelona at the 2013 World Championships. Older and younger sisters also dive. And then we can see Hariyasu, his father. A 77.50 for the forward 3.5 somersault of Shu Sakai. Patrick Housding, a resident of Berlin, coached by Jan Krashmeyer and Lutz Buschkow, began diving at the age of 7. Wow, impressive again, just from that starting position, very confident. That last hurdle, getting a huge leap from the springboard, plenty of height. Very compact, the knees right up on the chest. So just a little splash, the top of the toes coming down, a little heavy on the water from what was otherwise a very good dive from Patrick Housding. 85.75. Troy DeMay, a resident of Austin, Texas, under the watchful eye of Matt Scoggins from the University of Texas, Longhorn Aquatics. Matt, of course, has a number of young students here. A couple of the girls competing yesterday. And you see the splash being kicked up. The execution of the dive was quite nice. Jack Law represented England at the 2010 Commonwealth Games. He'll be looking towards Glasgow a little later in this year. Oh, well, he got a huge amount of height from the takeoff. He had no problems at all completing the reverse 2.5. Completing the reverse 3.5 somersault there. Nice tuck position. Breaks from the tuck nicely. Trying to hold the legs nice and straight for the entry. We can see the save under the water. Trying to minimize that splash. An exceptional amount of height from the takeoff. That's one of the things, the aspects the judges are looking at here through that flight of the dive. Very quick rotations. Adding to the overall impression of a diver's technique. 87.50 for Jack Law. And will certainly hold him towards the top of the table. Kvarsha. Also very impressive. Marienko with her full support. Strong takeoff, good angle of attack. We could see just a slight split with the legs. Just momentarily the legs coming apart, but he corrects it nicely for the entry. Right down on the toes, that is. .85 for Ilya Kvarsha of Ukraine. And he opened up brilliantly. Inwards 3.5 somersault for He Chong. Displaying intense concentration in that starting position. Very controlled through the rotations, as we can see. Good compression of the board. Got the height required. Keeping in mind, inwards 3.5 somersault. Just sliding into the water. Minimal splash. 86.70 will hold He Chong at the top of the overall total rankings at the conclusion of round number 2. It's Jack Law by just 2.5 points. Back in second position, Ilya Kvarsha further afield in third. Patrick Halsting, well, you can see not much in it between Kvarsha and Halsting, so at the moment that third position is up for grabs. Troy DeMay further afield with Shu Sakai rounding out our 6th finalist here in the men's 3-meter springboard final. He Chong just taking it all in. It's been a hectic schedule for these divers. Sho Sakai from Japan. Reverse 2.5. Now things starting to get a little bit more interesting as we enter into the third round. Oh, what a lovely technique. Wonderful to watch. Again, the height achieved from the takeoff was more than sufficient. Lovely positioning of the pike. The knees right up on the nose. I like the breaking of the pike, bringing the hands down first before going out in front to break the water. It's a wonderful technique, really breaking down the motions of the flight. Lovely to watch. Impressed. We see 9s across the board. 81 points for Sho Sakai of Japan. Patrick Housding, it's been a little bit slow to start off here. Reverse 2.5 with 2.5 twists. Well, it's a very technical dive. A small split in the form of the legs. Nothing major whatsoever. Eights, 7.5s for Patrick Housding. A round score of 88.80. Back 2.5 for Troy Domain. Again, very clean. Well executed dive for the American. Just watching the toes there. Almost coming off the springboard before compression. Perhaps a small deduction, perhaps half a point for the little crow hop. 76.50 for Troy Domain. He's been incredibly consistent through the past 3 stages of this series, Jack Law. Former junior elite world champion. Well, it was a little bit rushed over the final phase of the flight of the dive. We could see the break from the tuck position, trying to get the legs up nice and straight. The water was just rushing up a little too quick for Jack there. Failed to, in fact, he goes a little bit long, in fact, on the rotation. You see the legs just continuing over, the back of the heels coming down heavily. Well, Kvarsha could be the real challenge here for He Chong. We've mentioned the great rivalry they've had throughout here in Beijing and Dubai when He Chong picked up back-to-back gold. Kvarsha picking up back-to-back bronze, going on to take that silver in Moscow. He is missing the top echelon there. Oh. And again, it's impressive the height he achieves from the takeoff here. Has no problems at all through the flight. very quick spinning rotations, nicely compacted. Again, it's just trying to nail the entry to get those perfect points. .84 points, and a disappointed Ilya Kvasha. Well, our current leader in the opening 2 rounds, He Chong of China, reverse 3.5. Tuck position. Wow. Well, fantastic dive from He Chong, once again delivering. So confident from that starting position, very aggressive with the approach. Look at the height here. And what's this for an entry here? Sliding into the water. Hardly a splash to speak of. The water just boiling over with that fantastic ripped entry. Oh. Well, the judges here scoring 8.5s. I thought we might have seen something a little higher than that. 87.5 for the round. It will hold He Chong firmly in the lead as we go into the halfway point of our men's 3-meter springboard final. He Chong sitting on 264.30. Patrick Housding into second position, 251.05. Jack Lauer and Ilya Kvasha, hardly a point separating them at 3rd and 4th. And Troy DeMay, Sho Sakai, rounding out our 6 finalists. Well, 3 rounds remaining. Of course, there is no limit to the degree of difficulty in either round here. Divers are only required to perform one of each of the 5 types of dives, a second dive of their choice. And I think we're going to start, well, looking through the dive list here, we're certainly going to start to see some of the bigger dive numbers coming up here. Sho Sakai, back 2.5, pike position. Is going from strong to strong. He had a brilliant 3rd round dive after a little bit of a slow start, but Sho Sakai finding his form here in Windsor. .76.50. 4th round score for Sakai. Well, Patrick Housding, the biggest mover in the 3rd round. Jack Law missing his entry. The Kvasha also allowing Housding to take over that 2nd place. Let's see how he goes here with the inwards 3.5 somersault. Well, he's caught short, the legs still coming around. Not the best dive we're seeing from Patrick Housding, and the disappointment clearly showing. There wasn't a lot of height from the takeoff. Tuck position was compacted, but trying to break that tuck and achieve that correct angle of entry. Just not working for Housding at the moment. An incredibly humble diver. He's usually always got time for a smile and a wave to the media, but That disappointment clearly showing for Housting. It makes things very difficult for his final two dives. Troy Domey from the USA, inwards 3.5. Well, we see that very quick spinning rotation that the divers want to see. Nice positioning during the flight. Knees right up on the chest. The legs going a little long for the entry. .76.50 for Troy Domey in round number 4. Well, Jack Law slightly missing his third round dive. This will give him a chance to make up some points after Housting's missed dive here. Reverse, 2.5 somersault, 1.5 twists. It's a degree of difficulty 3.3. Oh, very nice. He has such fluid technique, very clean. Sure, we can see a little bit of splash from the entry, but the deductions are not severe from 8s to 7.5s, 8s holding. We have a 79.20 for Jack Law. Will that be enough to push him up into that second position? We'll see how Ilya Kvasha responds. Well, Kvasha performing one of my favourite dive numbers. 109.C, a forward 4.5 somersault type position. He has scored very highly in the past. We've seen him averaging 8.5s in previous stages. There is an opportunity again for big points from this dive. Kvasha responding well. It is difficult. 4.5 rotations. Nice takeoff. Very quick rotating action. The legs still coming around, just caught slightly short, but he was able to almost save the entry. Well, there you can see from 8s across the board, 8.5s, we have a dive score of 91.20. Kvasha, the big mover in round number 4. He Chong has been sitting atop the table from the very start of this contest. Kvasha able to handle the pressure well. We'll see how He Chong responds to that. Back 3.5 somersault. Again, another very difficult dive. 3.6 is the difficulty level from the starting position. The standing position, I should say, unlike that forward 4.5 with that running start. Well, we could see the stretch over the final phase for the entry. Coach Xiao Jihong looks to be happy. Well, we see another 90 points added to the total for He Chong. It holds him on top of the leaderboard. Kvasha is still some 17, 18 points off the back. He Chong sitting on 354.30. Ilya Kvasha into second position, 337.65 with Jack Law now holding on to third, 326.50. The big move from Troy Domey into fourth position ahead of Patrick Housting. Housting with that missed entry in the round, and Shusaka again holding on to that sixth position. Well, we've had a A fantastic crowd in attendance here. I mentioned the Mayor of Windsor has gone to extraordinary lengths to bring this event to North America. It's the first time since our inaugural series in 2007 that we've come to Canada. A 4-year commitment being made, and this wonderful international aquatic centre. It's almost its christening event, one could say. It's a brand new 10-lane facility. The feedback from all the athletes here has been very impressive. Many comparing it to what they had to work with in Moscow, the old 1980 Olympic Stadium where we were just a few weeks ago. It's quite a difference when it comes to facilities here. Of course, you may have seen the training area off to the side, the trampolines in place. There's well, first-class facilities here for the athletes and the officials. As we continue on, starting us out in round number 5, Sho Sakai, reverse 3.5, tuck position. Well, it was just the angle of entry. The splash wasn't really there, but the judges are certainly noticing that that flat entry. Again, very strong, powerful takeoff. Plenty of height. Just trying to bring the legs up. Now 4.5s up to 6.5s. We have 57.75 for Sho Sakai. Patrick Housing needing to respond from that 4th round dive. Here he goes with the forward 4.5. We saw some big points going to Quasha in the last round. Housing again just missing the entry. Well, many have talked about the grueling schedule for many of these divers who are competing in multiple events throughout this World Series, stage after stage. We've seen Patrick trying his best. He's had success, as we mentioned, 2 silver medals yesterday. He has in fact done quite well in the 3-meter springboard event. He picked up a gold medal in the synchronized contest back in Dubai, I think it was, with Stefan Feck. Troy Domey, reverse 3.5. Was up into 3rd or 4th position at the end of the last round. Big mover. Troy Domey is diving impressively at the moment. In January 2013, he said that he might be nearing the end of his career. He hadn't set a date on his retirement, but was just going to go about his diving, training just to keep in shape, continuing to dive for at least 1 more year, and you'll see where he goes from that. He said he loves to dive. The guys are just getting stronger and faster and younger. It's very tough to maintain that, he said. Born in 1980, 4-time Olympian. We heard our announcer advising that we hope to see him in Rio come 2016. Time will tell. Well, very disappointed with the effort there after such a strong performance in the 4th round. 21 points, not quite a failed dive recorded for Troy Domey in round number 5. Jack Law of Great Britain, forward 4.5. We have seen scores close to 100 points being achieved from this dive. It would put Jack right back in the game here to score well here. Well, that's going to do it. That was a fantastic dive from Jack Law. He has, well, he is showing fantastic maturity for such a young diver to respond from that previous round, to really kick back and get back into the game here. We see 95 points awarded to Jack Law. Takes his total to 421.50. We're going to see a very interesting final round here. It really is still open for those podium places. Well, that's a different response from Jack. A big smile on his face now. It was a different picture in the past round. He's back in this contest. Ilya Kvasha, back 2.5. Pike position. It should certainly be enough to hold him up in the top 3 positions for Kvasha. We see 8s coming from the judges, 72 points. Kvasha and Jack Law will continue to fight it out. Kvasha now just about 11 points behind Jack Law. We'll see how He Chong finishes off the round, and well, it will be interesting with 1 round remaining. And again, the forward 4.5 tuck position. Noticing the degree of difficulty, 3.8. It's the most difficult dive apart from the inwards 4.5, which is attempted from time to time. We are being treated here today to something very special. He Chong just missing his entry, but a fantastic attempt, a great dive. It's more than enough to firmly hold control as we go into the final round. Scoring just 79.8. We saw 95 points being scored by this dive number in the round. He Chong in front, 434.10. Jack Law sitting in second position, 421.50. Ilya Kvasha rounding up our top 3 with 409.65 points. Further afield, we find Housting, Sakai and Troy DeMay back down to 6th position after his 5th round dive. Well, we have mentioned consistency being the key to this sport. Incredibly hard to focus and concentrate and do it round after round after round. Anything can happen as we enter into our 6th and final round here of the men's 3-meter springboard final. We are coming to you live from the FINA NBC Diving World Series in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Day number 2. Plenty of action. Our first final of the day. We have the women's 3-meter final coming up a little bit later on. Of course, tomorrow we scale the heights of the platform to finish off with our individual platform events. Reverse 2.5, 1.5 twists. Sakai impressing today. You see a little split in the form of the legs here, just slightly coming apart during the flight. The entry slightly off angle. The legs coming quite far apart as we see, trying to pull the legs into position. Not really holding that pike position for very long at all. 74.25 for Sho Sakai. It takes his total to 439 points from 6 dives. Reverse 2.5 with a double twist for Patrick Housing. An opportunity to finish strongly now. Well, it's a fantastic example of how to play this game, to get back up on the horse. A great response from Patrick Housing. Just the one dive, having some heavy penalties for Housing in this contest. Finishing strong though, 83.30, takes his total to 449.35. Final dive for Domay. Forward 2.5, double twists, piked position. Well, also a good response for Troy Domay. We saw him scoring twos from the judges in the previous round. Again, responding well, getting back up there. And a well-executed dive to finish with. 81.6 the dive score. His total 413.85. Well, Jack Law has picked up a couple of medals in this competition. Looking for one more individual medal. Stretching out over the final phase of the flight, the legs still coming up. The splash was minimal, but the angle was off. It's not a bad finish for Jack Law. We see 7.5s, 8s coming from the adjudicators. 82.80. Jack Law has scored in excess of 500 points, 504.30. It is a tremendous achievement for this young British athlete. Well, it will be enough for a bronze medal for Jack Law, with just Clawshout and He Chong remaining. Forward 2.5, double twist pike position for Ilya Clawshout. Another strong finish as well. Marianka shaking hands with the coach of Patrick Housing, Jan Klashema, and Ilya Clawshout has just about sealed his silver medal here. A little early to get overly excited with the results. We still have He Chong to go, but a fantastic score of 88.40 takes his total to 498.05, and that might just be the bronze, in fact. We saw Jack Law finishing with 504.30. Clawshout will pick up at least a bronze. He Chong is going to have a look at this dive number here. It's a forward 2.5 somersault with triple twists. 3.9. This is a technical dive. Oh, wow. It was rushed, to say the least. He Chong. Let's break that down. The forward 2.5, the first full rotation into the twisting stage phase of the dive. We see 7.5s. It is enough. It will be enough. He Chong scoring 87.75 in the round. His total from 6 rounds, 521.85. The master has control once again. He Chong picks up gold in the men's 3-meter springboard final. Jack Law will take home an individual silver, scoring 504.30. And Ilya Kvasha has picked up bronze, 498.05. Rounds off our top 3 here in the springboard final. Further afield, Patrick Housden, Sho Sakai and Troy Dumay, our 6 finalists here in Windsor. Well, as we mentioned, coming up in just a few moments' time, we have the women's 3-meter springboard final. We have 2 local divers competing. Jennifer Abel scraping through to the final, finishing 3rd in her semi-final behind Tanya Cognoto and Shi Ting Mao. Pamela Ware, she had it a little bit easier. She finished in 2nd position behind Wang Han, with Cheong Jung Hung of Malaysia making up our final 6 in that event. So,
ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our presenters and your medalists for the men's 3-meter event. It is our pleasure to introduce our presenters for this event. She's the chairman of FINA Technical Diving Committee. Please welcome Kathy Seaman. And ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed our pleasure to introduce the Mayor of Windsor, His Worship Eddie Francis. In the 3rd position with 498.05 points from Ukraine, Ilya
session here. First up, we have our medalists from the men's 3-meter springboard final, representing Ukraine, Ilya Kvasha, 498.05 points, bronze medalist.
It was just 6 points ahead, but a score of 504.30 points is a silver medal for Jack Law, Great Britain.
A young diver we are going to see a lot of in the future. Jack Law of Great Britain, a silver medal here. He's had a fantastic series in 2014. We're looking for greatness in Glasgow in a few months' time.
And 17 points ahead makes him the gold medalist and the Windsor NBC Diving World Series champion with 521.85 points from China, He Chong.
He Chong from China, without a doubt the star of the show today, 521.85. Fantastic result he has really delivered here in Ontario.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise and join us in the playing of the national anthem of the People's Republic of China.
Well, it's a national anthem we have heard so many times throughout this series. I'm sure we will hear it a few more times as our World Series moves down to Mexico next week. Of course, we have another big day of diving tomorrow with the individual platform finals. Before we conclude our broadcast tonight, we'll have another victory ceremony. This time it's the women's 3-meter springboard medalists in just a moment. Warm welcome to Windsor, Ontario, as we continue on with day 2 of this 2014 FINA NBC Diving World Series. We have the women's 3-meter springboard final coming up. There's our start list, as we can see. Cheong Jun Hong of Malaysia will be followed by Jennifer Abel, Tanya Cognado, Pamela Ware, Wang Han, and Shi Ting Mao. Shi Ting Mao having 4 gold medals already in this 2014 series. She is the one to keep an eye out for here today. Well, what a fantastic event it has been for the Canadian divers. We saw yesterday successful, well, 2 of our athletes here. Here we can see Jennifer Abel and Pamela Ware. They managed to pick up silver in the synchro contest yesterday. It was a fantastic battle for them. Up on the springboard, ready to get us into the first of 5 rounds. Cheong Jun Hong, her opening dive, inwards dive, pike position. Picked up a bronze medal in Moscow last week. She's in fantastic form at the moment. She competed at the 2012 Summer Olympics in the women's synchronized contest. Underway here in Windsor, women's 3-meter springboard event. We had the men just moments ago. And it was business as usual on the men's side of things. We saw He Chong picking up his 4th gold in the series, I should say. Success in Beijing, Dubai, London, and now Windsor. Jack Law, a silver medal for the young Brit, with Mia Farsha taking the bronze. Well, Jennifer Abel, who needs no introduction here. 2012 London Olympic bronze medalist with her former partner Emily Haymans. World Championship bronze with Pamela Ware at the 2011 event. She picked up silver with Haymans as well. Double Commonwealth gold medalist. Games in New Delhi, coached by Miranda Puro, resident of Laval in Quebec, Canada. Made her international debut back in 2006, competing for Canada in the Madrid Grand Prix event. .67.50, the opening round score for Abel. Silver medalist at the 2013 World Championships, bronze medalist yesterday with Fran Delapay in the synchronized event. Tanya Cognado, 28 years of age. Impressive start for Cognado. Getting her final underway. Suffered a few injuries throughout her career. She's in good form at the moment. She was named the European Female Diver of the Year in 2009, also in 2013. Pamela Ware, 21 years of age. Living in Quebec, began diving at the age of 7 in Brossard in Canada. Competing for the camo diving team in Montreal under the watchful eye of Aaron Zeiser and Caesar Henderson. Ware picking up a bronze medal in the individual event at the 2013 World Champs. Jennifer Abel finishing in 5th place at that event.
So bright she can burn your eyes, and look the other way.
67.50. Score for Pamela Ware here in the opening round. Well, Wang Han, the inwards dive, inwards 2.5 somersaults. No messing about here for Wang Han. 2013 World Championship silver medalist behind Hershey in the 3 metre. She picked up a bronze on the 1 metre springboard. 3 silver and 1 gold alone in this 2014 series. And a brilliant style as well. Wang Han of China. The club coach Li Feng. She has previously been competing for Hibai's diving team. Her international debut was back in 2009 when she was competing for China at the World Championships in Rome. Wang Han, 76.5. That is enough to hold on to the top spot here at the end of our opening round. And Wang Han, 76.5 at the moment, with Xin Ting Mao remaining, the current world champion in the synchro contest, women's 3 metre springboard synchro champion. 4 times gold in this 2014 season. Well, she has won the past 2 events. Wow, what a fantastic score. Brilliant opening dive. Xi Ting Mao, 81 points, and that places her at the top of the ladder. It's 1 and 2 for Chinese divers, followed by Jennifer Abel in 3rd position. Tanya Cognato is tied for 3rd, actually, with Pamela Ware. We have a 3-way tie for 3rd spot at the moment on 67.50. And further afield is by Cheong Junhong from Malaysia. Xi Ting Mao, nice and relaxed after a fine opening dive. Chiu, forward 3.5 somersault, tuck position. Oh, very elegant. Nice dive. The entry, you see a little bit of splash there, but the dive was executed very well. Plenty of height. Check out this positioning of the body, nice and compact in the tuck. It's 7.5s from the judges, 65.80.
Jennifer Abel from Canada.
Well, we mentioned Abba just scraping through her semi-final this morning. There wasn't really much in it. It was about a point, in fact, between third and fourth place. Here's a back 2.5 somersault. Looks good. Again, just coming a little short with the legs, still coming around for the entry. Managed to save the splash though. Nicely positioned in that pike. Knees between the knees. Nice and straight. Square on to the springboard in front. And that's the reaction from Coach Sizer. 75 points for Jennifer Abel. Tanya Cognato from Italy, forward 3.5, pike position. And her international debut some time ago, the year 2000. Oh, it started very well. It was a confident approach and takeoff. The entry is where the deductions will be made. Didn't quite get the height required. The legs just continuing to go around. $62 points. Judges awarding. We'll see 6.5s and 7s. All 6 and cancelled out. We have a 63.55, a correction from adjudicators. Pamela Ware with a forward 3.5 pike position. Member of the Canoe Diving Club in Montreal. Started competing for Canada back in 2010. Injured her shoulder in that same year, the Singapore Youth Olympic Games. Weights across the board. 74.40 for Pamela Ware in the second round. Also from a long diving family, her older sister Carol Ann is also a member of the senior national diving team.
From China, performing a 5.5 TB.
Wang Han, forward 3.5. Sorry, forward 2.5 with a single twist. Pike position. Very nice, very elegant. She has a fantastic technique. Almost flawless here for Wang Han. 8.5s coming from our judges. 76.50 Wang Han will hold the pressure on her compatriot. Shi Ting Mao is up next with the back 2.5.
Shi Ting Mao from China.
Well, she had a fantastic opening round dive, 81 points achieved here in that. Let's see if she can continue on here. How she manages to glide into the water like that is truly amazing. Shi Tingmao impressing here in Windsor. We see 9s, we can even see a 10 on the board. The judges like it. 81 points again for Shi Tingmao. It's certain control for her at this stage in the game. Shi Tingmao sitting on 162 points. Further afield we have Wang Han on 153. We had a three-way tie for third position at the end of the first round. Now we have a little bit of order being established with Jennifer Abel sitting on 142.5 points in third position. Barely a point ahead of compatriot Pamela Ware, followed by Tanya Cognoto and Cheong Jun Hung from Malaysia. A festive atmosphere here in Windsor. The crowd have certainly turned out in force, and for good reason. They have been treated to the world's best divers performing here in Ontario. We had almost a sellout crowd on the opening day, which is something we haven't really seen from the opening stages of the series. They do love their diving in this part of the world. Cheong Jun Hung taking us into round number 3, back 2.5. The legs, the feet, very heavy indeed. .50, 6.5s from the judges. Jennifer Abel forward 2.5 somersault with a single twist. Well, breaks it down nicely again. A technical dive. There's a lot to the flight of it. Strong takeoff on that starting position. The approach was good. Very confident, a nice burst of height, nicely positioned in the pike throughout, keeping the legs glued together, no splits in form whatsoever. Just a little bit of splash from the entry, but it's a fine effort from Jennifer Abel, and we see 9s, 8.5s, 8s, even 76.50 .5s from the judges. Tanya Cognoto with a forward 2.5 with a single twist. It's a popular dive in this round. Oh, very nice again. Good height from the takeoff, completing the full 1.5 rotations before entering into the twisting phase of the dive. Here we can see her positioning nice and square, not off axis, in front of the springboard. 4 points being picked up by the judges. 69 points for Tanya Cognoto in round number 3. And Pamela Ware The fight was on between the Canadians for that third place. We'll see how Pamela responds to Jennifer Abel's good third round dive. There's an inwards 2.5 somersault in the pike position. Comes up short, the legs are still coming around, and that's exactly what we see from Caesar Henderson, coach of Pamela Ware. And it's a little bit disappointing for Pamela Ware. It was a brilliant start. It's going to make it tough for her to make up the points in the final 2 rounds, but a little bit of breathing room perhaps for Jennifer Abel. However, we have our top 2 divers remaining with Wang Han and Shi Tingmao to come. Wang Han with a reverse 2.5 somersault pike position. There's just these tiny little things that are really doesn't feel worth mentioning trying to critique dives like this. It's an awesome example. Yes, we see a little bit of splash to the entry, perhaps not the perfect rip. Wang Han making it look so easy, it's effortless from her takeoff. Such a smooth approach. Wonderful technique. Well, 8s across the board, 72 points, rightly so. We'll hold her in at least second position. We'll see how compatriot Sister Mao, as she goes by, and the young Shi Tingmao. Spotless, wonderful. You can really notice the difference in the takeoff between the Canadian, the Europeans, and the Chinese divers. They're very aggressive. They get so much lift, so much height. Looking at the pike position, it's beautiful. Rolling away to save the dive under the water. The legs were perhaps looking to go long, but keeping them nice and straight. We see 9s coming from the judges. 81 points for Shi Tingmao. It takes her total to 243. She has stretched her lead. She's running away with this contest at the moment. Wang Han hanging on into second position with 225 points. Jennifer Abel has the third position at the moment, 219 points. 19 points further afield we find Tanya Cognoto in fourth position, followed by Pamela Ware and Cheong Chun Hung from Malaysia. Jennifer Abel and Pamela Ware were under enormous pressure yesterday. It came down to the final dive. 0.15 was the margin between gold and silver in the synchro contest. They narrowly missed out on claiming their first gold of the season, of the series. Here's Cheong, reverse 2.5 somersault, pike position. Judges awarding 70.50. recovering well from the previous round.
Jennifer Abel from Canada.
Forward 3.5 somersault for Jennifer Abel. Again, looking for that confident takeoff, plenty of height. Well, the crowd are here to support their divers, and that's exactly what they're doing. Abel just missing the entry slightly. A good dive in all, 7.5s, a dive score of 66.65. Tanya Cognato still with the chance to challenge for that bronze position. Inwards 2.5 here. She composed herself well. It's not the most difficult dive at this point in the game for Tanya. We see the entry causing a little bit of splash. .67.50. Reverse 2.5 somersault. It was an interesting approach to the takeoff. I don't think I've seen a hurdle so big before. It's a nice technique. Got the height required for it, as you can see from that. It's a big final hurdle onto the hop. And nicely finished for Pamela Ware. Awarded 8.5s, 73.50. She can identify the areas for improvement there. Just a little disappointed. We still have a round to go though for Pamela Ware. Here's Wang Han, forward 3.5, pike position. Incredibly clean dive after dive. Wang Han performing incredibly well here in Ontario. Very relaxed. You don't see that very aggressive spinning style, but it's not really required. It's just nice and smooth. Wonderful positioning. 79 points, 39.05 for Wang Han. She had a little bit of a gap to close to Shi-Ting Mao. Same dive now for Shi-Ting Mao. Oh,
very hard to judge the reaction of Liu Ben, the coach of Xi. The judges like it. It's a great dive. We see a little bit of splash. It's not perfect. 8.5s, 8s coming from the judges. 75.95. It's allowed Wang Han to close the gap slightly, but Shi Tingmao will go into the fifth and final round in control. She has a score of 318.95. Wang Han, 304.05. Jennifer Abel at the moment is in third position at 285.65, followed by Tanya Cognotto, 267.55. Pamela Ware and Cheong Jun-hung. Well, nice clean dive here for Jennifer Abel. Should land her on the podium for the second time here in Windsor. Fingers crossed for the Canadians. Certainly a festive atmosphere here.
400 million people around the world will watch you standing and dancing.
Our announcer saying 400 million spectators for the event across the world. Wherever you're watching around the world, we hope you are enjoying our broadcast of this 2014 FINA NBC Diving World Series. Happy times here in Windsor. One round to go to conclude competition for this evening's session. We're back again tomorrow. We're going to do it all over again as the athletes scale the heights of the platform. We'll start out around the same time tomorrow afternoon with the men's platform final before we conclude with the women's platform final. And once again, there will be home hopes resting on the local divers in the women's event. And let's focus on our women's 3-meter springboard final. Cheong Jun-hung of Malaysia with a reverse 1.5 somersault, 2.5 twists, freed position. Well, it's one of her best dives of the day, saving the best till last. Nice positioning of the body, that free position. Choosing any or a combination of all. Nice straight alignment from the neck down through the body, through the legs. 8s coming from the judges, 69.60. It takes the total for Cheong Jun-hung after 5 rounds to 318.40.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, please, for Jun-hung Cheong from Malaysia.
Well, this is a big moment for this young diver, Jennifer Abel. 22 years of age. Her final dive, reverse 2.5. Oh, it's going to be enough, I think. We see the toes just kicking up a bit of water, but it's a good dive, a good way to finish for Jennifer Abel. She should be happy here. She had a pretty comfortable lead ahead of Cognotto down in 4th position. She doesn't have much hope of closing the gap on the top 2, but as we know, anything can happen in the final round. .70.50, the 5th round score. It takes the total to 356.15 for Jennifer Abel. Tanya Cognotto from Italy, reverse 2.5 pike position. She'll need something very special here. Well, it's not a bad effort. A good dive, in fact, for Cognotto to finish things off. We see 76.50. Her total 344.05 will leave her about 12 points behind Jennifer Abel. Pamela Ware, forward 2.5, single twist, plank position. Another wonderful finish for Pamela Ware. The last 2 rounds have been exceptional for her. Again, that wonderful approach, that huge hurdle, leaping onto the end of the springboard. Plenty of height, having no problems at all executing the dive. .73.50 we see from the judges. It takes her total to 336.90 for 5 rounds.
Gentlemen, your applause, please, for Pamela Ware from Canada.
Perhaps not the result she was looking for, but Pamela Ware creating history, one could say, here with her silver medal yesterday. Wang Han of China, back 2.5 somersault, pike position. Very impressive. We've talked about the entries of these Chinese divers throughout the night, and there's another perfect example of how they managed to just glide into the water without leaving hardly a ripple. 9s coming from the judges, 81 points. It's the 3rd dive we've seen of 81 points. Her total after 5 dives, 385.05.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, please, for Wang Han from China.
Well, that leaves just 1 diver remaining. Xiting Mao has the opportunity to wrap things up here. She'll need, on average, 7.4 or 66 points to claim the win. It's not a huge ask. And without a doubt, that will seal the deal. Xiting Mao claims gold once again here in Windsor. A fantastic way to finish off. Very consistent from start to finish. She takes her bow, and she has good reason to be happy here today. We see 9s coming from the judges, 8.5s, 79.50 is her total. An impressive overall total from 5 rounds of just shy of 400 points, 398.45. It's gold and silver to our divers from the People's Republic of China. Jennifer Abel keeping the hosts happy with a bronze medal. We see Wang Han finishing on 385.05. Jennifer Abel, 356.15. Tanya Cagnotto from Italy, 344.05. Pamela Ware, 336.90. And Jiong Junhung from Malaysia rounds out our 6 finalists here in Windsor, 318.40. Well, what a fantastic conclusion to our day's competition. We will have an award ceremony for the men and women medalists in the springboard final. Stay with us for that. There's still more to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our presenters and your medalists in the women's 3-meter springboard. It is indeed our pleasure to introduce our presenters, Vice Chairman, FINA Technical Diving Committee, Chu Jihong. And he is the founder of NBC and president. Please welcome Mr. Wu.
Well, some bold statements made by diving Canada in the lead up to this event, predicting that Canadian divers would medal in all events they participated in. And so far that has been correct. Jennifer Abel taking bronze here today. Adding to her silver in the synchro contest yesterday. And that's been a fantastic meet for the Canadians.
With a score of 385.05 points, your silver medalist, second place to Wang Han from China.
Representing the People's Republic of China, Wang Han, a silver medal, 385.05 today.
Your gold medalist and your FINA NBC Diving World Series Windsor champion with a score of 398.45 points. Please welcome Shi Tianbao from China.
Shi Tianbao clinching gold once again here, 398.85, an impressive score. Leading from start to finish, he wasn't really challenged so much to a contest. We congratulate all of our medalists. We wish them the best of luck for the continuation of the FINA NBC Diving World Series.
With the pride of the People's Republic. Ladies and gentlemen,
Well, a very proud moment for our divers. The Chinese domination continues here on day 2 of the FINA NBC Diving World Series here in Windsor, Ontario. We'll see how things go tomorrow. I mentioned the form finals coming up tomorrow afternoon. I think they're starting about 14:40 local time. That's 18:40 GMT. Wherever you may be watching around the world, make sure you check your local guides. It's going to be a big finale.